Hey everyone, it's Skiesti. It looks like it's about that time to talk about Mercy again with all the negativity surrounding her recently. Alright, fine. If everyone wants to keep talking about Mercy, let's talk about Mercy. I'm a Mercy girly, so inevitably I'm going to talk about Mercy when discussions about her come up. With that said, I'm obviously biased, but I'll do my best to be as objective as possible. Also, you probably know this by now, but I hate getting involved in anything that has to do with Overwatch balance, and this whole thing has frankly been tiring, but I just have to put my 2 cents in. I want to preface this by clarifying that I don't care if Damage Boost or Resurrection gets replaced or reworked, as long as Mercy is still in a state where she's playable and fun. I, as well as other Mercy players, only really care that her movement stays as it is because that's what's most enjoyable about her. And if you have no clue what I'm on about right now, Mercy's kit has been causing quite a fuss in the Overwatch community because of her Damage Boost, Resurrection, and also somewhat her Guardian Angel, which we'll get right into. Many people have been talking about Damage Boost and how unhealthy they feel it is for Overwatch. Damage Boost has always been talked about here and there when the devs release or retune a hero without keeping Damage Boost and the breakpoints it causes in mind. Take Sojourn for example. In what is labeled Season 0 of competitive, she could one-shot with her railgun on her own. After her nerf in Season 1, she now requires Damage Boost from Mercy to one-shot, which has largely been the reason why Damage Boost has come into conversation again. Even outside of Soj, there's conversations about how other heroes such as Pharah can't be given changes that would benefit them because of Mercy's impact. However, the same can be said about Mercy. She also won't ever be adjusted in ways that she needs or would benefit from because of how she pairs with other heroes. As a Mercy player, I enjoy using Damage Boost a lot, and I heavily encourage others to do so as well, which you can learn to do with my guide. Mercy doesn't really have a way to do her own damage. Her default state is through her damage boost and amplifying the damage of others to be able to contribute. Sure, she has her pistol, but that requires her to swap weapons, whereas other supports can swap from doing healing or damage without that and can do more damage than Mercy can per shot. It's also somewhat important to keep in mind that damage boost is largely underused in most ranks. In an ideal world, every Mercy would be pushing damage boost, but that's not the reality. It's obviously much more common in higher ranks, and that's a lot of where this conversation is coming from, but outside of that, it's not used as optimally as it should be. A lot of Mercy players focus on healing or on their tank specifically instead of enabling their DPS. A popular suggestion from the community for replacing damage boost is to turn Mercy's blue beam into an attack speed amplifier. I really dislike this idea. I can't explain how much I dislike this. The biggest problem with it is that it'll throw off the rhythm of the DPS you're pocketing because when you're swapping from heal to blue beam, their attack speed would be shifting every few seconds, and that person isn't even in control of that. So they'd have to adjust to someone randomly, constantly adjusting their attack speed, and that'll be really difficult. Another suggestion I've heard is a meter on damage boost, potentially based on how much she heals, and this is also a problem. If Mercy is trying to heal to fill up a meter for damage boost, she's taking ult charge away from her other support. And what happens if no one needs healing and she doesn't have the damage boost meter already filled up? Is she pistols? Or continues to heal someone who is already full health, just waiting for them to take damage to fill up the meter again? That'll feel really bad for Mercy. I personally don't like the idea of her damage value being reliant on her pistol, which I've expressed many times before, and that's not why many Mercy mains play her anyway. If the idea of a meter was adjusted or implemented in a way that it's not based on how much she heals, that might be interesting. But then you're introducing another meter to a hero that already has a meter now, and while I think that would be engaging to keep track of and play with, it might be too complex for how the devs want Mercy to be a more introductory hero with a low skill floor and high skill ceiling. If damage boost was adjusted or reworked in some way, other parts of her kit would have to be adjusted in return so that Mercy is still playable and can bring value. I wouldn't mind a slight nerf to the percentage of the damage she amplifies, which right now is 30%, but if that was done, she'd need compensation somehow to other parts of her kit. But it would be interesting to see if that fixes her problem with breakpoints, or if that would just bait her out of playability. I'm sure that Sojourn will be nerfed again eventually, considering how strong she still is, and with that, I'm also positive that Mercy will fade into the background once more, into a position like she had in Season 0, which is that she's okay with certain heroes, but generally is just outclassed by the utility of other supports. I'll be upfront in saying that this thing with Mercy is mostly just a problem in Ranked where the game can be quite chaotic. In organized gameplay for pro players, Mercy is used sparingly while other heroes are favored. You can even look back at the Overwatch League or contenders and see how minimally Mercy has been played recently. People have been unhappy that Resurrection doesn't require Mercy to keep line of sight and can be done behind cover. In their opinion, there's a lack of counterplay and they want Res to require line of sight. But at that point, you might as well just throw the whole ability out because then it's practically useless. I have a love-hate relationship with Resurrection. Yeah, I think it's a neat idea, but there's little opportunity to use it, which means you have this ability you just barely touch that also feels clunky to use. My reses per 10 minutes after 27 hours of playing in high-ranked lobbies is 3.62. I use this ability an average of not even 4 times in 10 minutes every game. I would absolutely love to have an ability that I get to use more often. When discussing Resurrection, I feel like people tend to over-exaggerate it. They're acting like Mercy uses res every 30 seconds when it comes off cooldown, or that she's getting off these insane reses. And sure, that might happen on a rare occasion, but realistically, the only reses Mercy can do are the ones she can use cover for, or not require line of sight to complete. Resurrections are normally performed if someone gets picked off at the beginning of a fight, if someone gets picked in your backline, if someone dies near or behind cover that Mercy can twist around, at the end of a one fight, or if Mercy's using Valkyrie where her movement and constant self-regeneration gives her a bit more flexibility in her reses. One popular suggestion I've heard is to make it so that Mercy is only able to res during Valkyrie. That would mean that she doesn't have an ability in her neutral state. She would be left with Guardian Angel and her staff, and that would really suck. Some people want to be able to see the soul like Mercy would see so that they know exactly where she would go to res, so that they could prevent it, and that's so unnecessary and make Mercy even more of a target and more vulnerable than she already is in res when not behind cover. At the end of the day, I don't care whether res stays or goes. I hate having an ability I barely use, and again, I'd love to have something I use more often, but I doubt we'll see res removed until one-shots are removed because res provides some counterplay to that, and I'd be surprised if there came a day where one-shots were completely taken out of Overwatch. Yes, it sucks to have a kill denied and brought back, but it also sucks to not even have a chance to counteract that. As for Mercy's movement, some people are just unhappy about how hyper-mobile Mercy is with her Guardian Angel and the tech that she can do with it, and how hard that makes her to hit. I won't deny that it can get pretty silly sometimes, but it's enjoyable, so please let us have this, and also don't nerf the cooldown or you'll destroy the ability, thanks. A concern that I have in regards to any suggestions that I've seen for any part of Mercy's kit is that they're largely nerfs because of how much the louder part of the community dislikes Mercy. Truthfully, I don't think we'll see changes to Mercy's kit anytime soon, but if that day comes, I hope the devs will be careful about who they listen to in that conversation so that Mercy at least remains somewhat fun and viable. All in all, people need to come to terms that Overwatch isn't just an FPS game, it also has MOBA-like qualities. It's a game that has utility built into it. If you don't like playing against damage modifiers, resurrections, immortalities, shields, crowd control, etc., then maybe Overwatch isn't the game for you, and that's okay. Anyway, that's all I've got. Nerf Mercy, rework Mercy, adjust Mercy, I don't care. Get rid of res, get rid of damage boost, doesn't matter to me. Please keep her movement, and if you do end up doing something to her, please make sure that she's still fun and can be played. All of this has been pretty tiring, so thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.